everyone. Thank you, the IMEC team, for this fantastic event and your hospitality. So I'm going to talk about the work we are doing at CAV.ai to bring machine curiosity to the age of physical intelligence. When people hear physical intelligence, often they think about a robot folding a shirt, maybe more entertaining dancing robots, walking your dogs, maybe a little bit more utilitarian chores of making your coffee in the morning. In contrast, when I think about physical intelligence, I think about physical infrastructure that we have built on our planet that are growing in scale and outpacing our intelligence to monitor them, to predict their future, and in that gap, we fail to protect our planet. And this is not an academic problem at all. This is costing us daily in financial terms, in human life, in sustainability. And that is the problem that is quite universal. So while oil spills and fatalities in a construction site might take the bulk of attention in a press coverage, really the $20 billion that $50 billion that I'm showing here on an annual basis, the cost of shutdown, unplanned shutdowns in manufacturing shows how much we are leaving on the floor when we talk about these problems. So let me tell you that we're not the only ones thinking about this. So when you think about sensor markets, most studies show a solid growth rate of about 17% in terms of growth of the market over 10 years. That's a doubling of the market. And when you look deeper as where that growth comes from, everybody attributes it to edge AI, or what I call AI-enabled sensing, right? So sensors being able to solve the problem that I posed, right? To close this gap. But I want to talk about why this is just a small piece of this puzzle. What I'm going to try to show and convince you is that really we need more to solve this problem, and I will come back to these numbers later. This is a cartoon that basically gives us the sense what the challenges are. When you think about sensing, sensors are limited. They capture pretty much a sliver of reality right in front of them. So if I put cameras, for example, to understand a construction site, I will basically make a decision as which pieces of reality I'm actually feeding, right? What do I capture? And that is of itself is an intelligent question. What should I capture? Every camera will capture just what is in front of it. And the collection, the arrangement of how I should arrange these sensors and cameras in this space exponentially gets complicated. Now, this complicates what you see. What you see complicates and shapes what you are going to feed to your AI, and what you're going to learn and infer there is going to impact how you're going to rearrange these sensors in the future. So it's a catch-22 of sensing parts of the world, not knowing what you should sense, and so on. So in other words, this itself is not sufficient. Sensing is not sufficient. More importantly, this becomes really challenging when you think about all sensing modalities that are available. Sensor markets are flooded with different kind of sensors whose limitations are all existing and real, dictated by physical laws of nature, but their physics are very different. Their capabilities are quite complementary. So really the complexity grows even more when you think about these modalities and how you should arrange them in these spaces. And this brings me to what I consider the most important attribute of humans' physical intelligence. We all turn our head to a sound that is not expected. We get close when we can't read something. We zoom in on a targeted conversation and zone out other things. This is what mechanistically what curiosity does for us. And that is why bringing curiosity and machine curiosity to the next phase of AI is critical to be able to solve the kind of problem that I posed. Now, in my research, in the past 20 years, I've really thought about this problem from a Shannon theoretic, information theoretic perspective. The math is complex, but I think this example that I was talking about gives you a really good flavor to kind of get what are the components of that analysis. So let's do an exercise. Let's say we could afford assigning a buddy system to every worker in this construction site, and my job is to ensure the safety of the fellow in the yellow jacket. My curiosity about what he is doing, whether he's safe, tells me that I should zoom in. I should look at the detail of what he's doing, and sometimes what he's not doing. But if there is a moment I have to hold my attention that he does something that is unsafe, I get alarmed, I pay attention to noise. That will tell me maybe I should look back and walk back, look at the cameras with bigger views, identify the source of dangers beyond this one person's attitude, so the coincidental issues in the construction site, and alert him. So this is all the part of human curious way that we operate in the physical world. We recognize our sensors have limitations, and we actually adjust what we do, our behavior, to those limitations. We walk up with our sensors, right? So if you put this all together, you get human curiosity in a very simple form. As I said, the math is complicated, but it pretty much comes down to you have many sensors, and we use them all. But we are active, and these legs are meant to show our activity. We are active about which one is useful when. So if I see something, I start paying attention with my ears, recognizing that my eyes has different capabilities than my ears, right? I might even walk to things to compensate for the weakness of these things. So these are the first two components: multimodal sensing and our ability to be dynamic and active. And then the third one is we are hypothesis driven. We constantly think about where the danger comes from in that construction site. We think about the larger context, and we really adapt our decision making about the sensors to that context and to that hypothesis space. So these are the three components of human curiosity, and this is what we put together in our proprietary technology, active physical intelligence. The first instance of machine curiosity, we pulled these things together. We put sensors, and there is a lot of really interesting sensors for the kind of physical spaces that I have started to talk with that we have put together. We need a spine or a collection center that pulls signals from these sensors and then provides it to a generative AI model that actually puts it all together and does the sort of hypothesis-driven predictions of the future. Now, this is a very unique moment for us in terms of technology trends. We are sort of at the intersection of three important technology trends: sensing technology, connected and embodied AI technology, robotics, as well to wireless communication, and then generative AI, of course. Gen AI is sort of the foundations. And what we have built is really pulling its strengths from all of these. So now, before I show you the impact on the ground for the kind of applications that we have, I'm going to take a little bit of a detour to show you how pulling these two components, multimodal sensing and active and dynamic attention, can really solve even sort of very important AI problems that we are facing in the first place. So what I'm going to show you is work that I presented at ICLR at Rio. I'm going to go with the first one is a really simple to state, challenging problem for AI and computer vision called single image novel view synthesis. So what is the problem? The problem is you have a single image of a space, of a world, and you want to generate or synthesize novel views of this world along a path. Use cases, autonomous driving is a very obvious scenario. And what is known is that single image has a lot of deficiency in information, so it's not enough. So in computer vision, when people think about novel view synthesis, views that has not been seen, you need tens to thousands of images depending on how large the space is. So what we showed is that if you replace on this single image, a few pixels, when I say few, really minute number, it's below hundredths of a percent of the pixels on the image with other sensing modality. These could be depth, LiDAR, radar, and I can show the difference. So the last one is our model. The middle one is only using RGB, and you can see the kind of predictions and novel view synthesis that we do in this space is much better. Take the problem a little bit harder. So world models I think of them as counterfactual testing models. These are models that you show some evidence of a space. Let's say here, I show you the evidence that is collected from a Waymo, the camera on top of a Waymo car. And I ask counterfactual questions. What if this camera was on a drone, after that sidewalk? What would that camera be showing me? So now the use of such counterfactual machine known as world model has been discussed in the AI community, and if you have not heard of it, I really direct you to a lot of really interesting discussions about the use of such models. And what I want to show you is that when you ask these models currently to the AI, in the current state-of-the-art AI solutions, they depend on overlap between the counterfactual question you ask and the kind of evidence you provide them. So if you ask this is the evidence, move your head a little bit, they do a good job. When you ask the kind of counterfactual question I ask, which is zoom in and go forward, they do a very poor job. In fact, to show you, I have asked this question from the top of the line video generation / world model out of some of the best and brightest groups out of NVIDIA and Vector Institute. This is called Gen3C. It's a generative model. And I asked the same question because there was a big overlap. There was a big gap between the evidence I showed it. The video it produces is quite deficient. Using that notion of attention that we use in our active physical intelligence allows our platform to automatically pick the right evidence at the right time and generates a far better resolution video with a lot of details that matter. Okay. This is the same question put counterfactually in time. It's a really short video, and I asked the counterfactual machine, can you tell me if I had started the video earlier, what would I've seen? And you can see the quality in the existing state of the art is quite bad. However, our solution is of high quality because of paying attention to the right physical attributes. Now, this has all been in the research community. I'm really happy to report that we don't shine only in the research venues. What I'm showing you is the work we did with a petrochemical facility. This is the UI that has been provided to their engineers on the ground, and basically the active physical intelligence in form of an agentic backend provides not only a very good interface in terms of intuitive arrangement of the data, but a chatbot that consists of a crew of incredibly curious agents that co-think with the user as what should be the data that they look at together, how to form hypotheses about which modality of the data contains what kind of information, cross-reference those, formalize a hypothesis, and make plans for what in the future needs to be measured to improve the quality of the data. So this kind of use case gives the value of bringing curiosity to this back end that really illuminates the value of this data beyond what we have seen. So with this kind of technology, we have been able to do really good work in terms of paid projects and showed the value of curiosity in building new generation of AI systems. We are in active conversations with people from the energy sector, the kind of refinery and petrochemical facilities, but also we have been able to expand to other sectors that I'm kind of bringing it back to the beginning of my talk. The problem was universal, and what we have been really able to do is to start with energy sector and then show the portability of our solution by now expanding it to water and utilities. And this is going to be the focus of our attention, laser focus, for the year and a half into the future to really understand and build customer engagements to really understand the client's needs, and especially the engineers on the ground. What do they need in terms of information? And with that name recognition and customer engagement, we will be really well positioned to go to the technology partners that enable our technology, sensors and sensor manufacturers and robotic manufacturers. They will be the sort of right places where we will then port our solutions to, as well as infrastructure, cell towers, and so on. And then that will hopefully position us well for lucrative markets that are known to have a larger sales cycle. So let me just, one thing that I would like you to take from this talk, to talk about the fact that we are at a very unique moment in terms of technology trends converging, and the intersection contains massive opportunity to enable us to think about curiosity. Now, it's true that we pulled from all these advances in these technologies to enable ours, but I would argue machine curiosity will create a new market for all of these technology trends. So if you go back to, for example, the sensor technology, when you look at the predictions are conservative. They rely on edge AI to do the job. With the machine curiosity, I want to argue that what you have is that moment of bringing machine learning and generative AI for a GPU market to suddenly grow exponentially. Machine curiosity will do the exact same thing for sensor technology as well as robotics and communications. So let me end by saying, when you start building AI for physical intelligence, you realize that attention is still as essential, but attention in the physical space has more than multi-heads. It has ears, eyes, even legs and wings, and the name of the game is to be able to use them all, and that's what we are doing at COV AI. And I thank you all.